Okay, we should be fine. We should be live. I hope. Now we just wait. And now we just ping the thing. Here we go. We live. Come join. Really pull up. Okay. I think we're live. Alrighty. I think we're live. Y'all hear us?
Big up to your boy.
Big up.
Big up the seagulls.
Yo, what's up, Gravity? Your first time on the stream? Oh, well, welcome. This is the first time we've done it in a minute. It's been like a month since the last new Egoist pod stream. What do we do now?
Aside from one that you cut off early because of some dickhead.
Yeah, I cut that one
off. Am I a moderator in your chat?
You're not. I should probably make you that.
We'll sort it out if it happens again.
Yeah, I need you comment something, say something in the chat so I can click you because I can't click your thingy here.
Just load up your stream.
But yeah, anyways, for today's stream, we are going to just be going through talking about chapter 301 as well as chapter 299 and 300 because we haven't talked about them at all. And then we also are going to be just talking about other stuff. Me and Raven were on a call at like 5 a.m. and we were talking about another thing that we can mention here because I made another video on it. I'm getting very, very mixed opinions on it, and I want to know your guys' thoughts. But yeah. Anyways, I need to make Raven a mod. Raven, say something in the chat.
Hello.
Not in person, in the chat.
I am a mod.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
Okay, so he's a moderator. Goodbye, Sky Dragon. Anyways, so chapter 301.
Okay, 299 and 300. We should get those out the way first.
No number. Yeah, we'll start with them. So it's been a minute, right? We've made respective chapter reviews. I think like we've made them on 299, 300, and 301. So then, in relation to those, right, we have our thoughts already out there, but we can just talk about it again, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think Nagi getting locked off is a good decision for now. I think him staying locked off, though, is a bad one.
It depends how he's reintroduced.
Yeah.
Because they could easily reintroduce him in a shit way, but I want episode Nagi to capitalize on a side story. It's sort of one we kind of already know. Like, we already know about what Nagi's journey is through the third selection, the U20 match, the NAL. What is the point?
Yeah.
And,
No, it feels like it doesn't feel like a side. It doesn't feel like a spin-off manga. It feels like a prologue, but not in the same way a prologue spin-off usually is. Like My Hero Vigilantes is a spin-off. It tells a completely different story that's still relative to our current one, but it's through a whole different lens. But with episode Nagi, it's great. Sure, the art's amazing, but it doesn't feel fully worth reading. Because, like, what information are we truly getting from that side story that is relevant now? Like, if we were at second selection, that's one thing. If we were in second selection, totally different story. But right now, what's the purpose, you know?
What devalues it a bit more about episode Nagi, as much as we haven't seen certain matches go down, we know the results. So it kind of feels like we're waiting for the end.
Yeah.
Like the matches can be interesting from a showcase standpoint. Like what else could Nagi pull off? What concluded the matches? But we know the result.
Yeah.
The entire second selection, we know what happened because we
Yeah.
saw the end, and no one's reading this shit in order. Because if you're gonna read the manga, you're gonna read the BLUELOCK manga, original BLUELOCK manga.
Yeah, like
Episode Nagi manga is so much harder to come by in comparison.
Yeah, like I think the only like purpose for episode Nagi now would have to be a Nagi focus outside of BLUELOCK.
Yeah,
like, which at that point I feel like episode Nagi is great, right? Don't get me wrong, I love reading it. I think it's great, but at the same time, I think it'd be 10 times better if it covered full-on brand new material, brand new context. Because, like, then it would feel like two different mangas. But it's not. It's two different mangas or spin-off or stories told in one universe. And I think that'd be very, very interesting. You know what I mean?
The only thing in which I can see Nagi going down for episode Nagi manga, the only two paths I can see it is it's either ending this next chapter, or we are going to get a future side story. Because, like, what follows is just Nagi's mindset coming across the third selection and being picked as the sixth best player in BLUELOCK. Because he doesn't get he doesn't say what everything that he's wanting to say to Rhea. We know this from following the main story.
Yeah.
He says all this stuff, but he doesn't actually like put himself forward to do it. Yeah. So there's nothing of substance to add aside from it making a new side story. So it's either doing that or it's ending.
Yeah. If it does end, I would love a completely different spinoff. Like,
yeah,
following a whole different character. I think the only one that has a possibility.
Kaiser.
No, like Sai. I think Sai is the only character with any substance for a spinoff right now in the story.
Or we could get that Ego spinoff.
Yeah, but I feel like they'd save any Ego backstory for going into the actual World Cup arc. Like, with Noah. Because, like, that's why I think they're saving the manga cover for Noah. Like, they're saving it for the World Cup. So they'll probably save the Ego backstory as well. Like, I think Sai is the only character right now that has any potential to have a spinoff. The only character I would even say relative is maybe Charles. And even then, I don't know if I would read an episode Charles. Like, I would read it because of BLUELOCK, right? But, like, if I was just an average fan, I don't know if I'd actively read an episode Charles. Like, because, like, for Sai, there's so much we don't know, but there's so much we do know that we can expand upon. For Charles, we don't have that. Charles feels like a complete character to me. Sai doesn't. Just weird.
It's what I mean. It's why I'm saying Kaiser. You may think like there's not much to expand on, but like we have yet to see the rest of German players. That was not all of the German U20 players, and there could very much be another interesting character to expand on in that category before the events of the U20 Cup arc.
Yeah. TDA says we don't need spinoffs, just show it in the main manga. See, that's where I disagree. I think spinoffs are a good way to delve into character development and depth while also covering main source material. Because, like, sure, you have to write it, right? Like, you have to write it in a way that makes sense, but trying to get so much of the context for all these characters in the main story is a lot harder than just making a spinoff on characters that you can develop at the same time and then bring them to the main story. Like Sai, right? Have him develop as an individual in an episode Sai spinoff. We get more depth for him, more backstory for Spain. It covers already the stuff that we want to know about from him in the main story, but it doesn't take away from our main story or force the mangaka to write in a way that forces Sai into the story or forces that development. Spinoffs are a great way to delegate delegate development without sacrificing your own main storyline and pacing that you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think. Oh yeah, he's gonna say spin-offs are secondary material, but like the reason why our mindsets towards spin-offs are completely unrelated to Blue Lock. Like we see, Star Wars, for example. Star Wars got shafted because of like a bunch of content being exclusively released on Disney Plus as side content to keep up with the main story. Same with Marvel, but this is accessible to us. We don't have to support the official release, even though you totally should. But you're able to keep up with the story, and you also don't have to read episode Nagi in order to get information. It just expands. It just expands on a certain character perspective in which we are interested in. Nagi is like he's within the top 4 at least favorite characters in Blue Lock, right?
Yeah,
and he's built to be that way because of his secondary main character nature. He is completely different development cycle in comparison to Isagi. So naturally, people are going to have interest in him. People want to see that spin-off.
Yeah.
You could also say the same thing about Sai. Everyone, even if Sai hasn't turned up for the past over 100 chapters.
Yeah, but you're saying Star Wars spin-offs in relation to clone number 57,000. This is Nagi. This is a character that's already established, loved, and beloved in the series, along with like Sai, who is already a beloved character that people want more content on, right?
Yeah.
Rather than forcing Sai into the main.
Blue Lock treats so many characters like they're important, and that's the deal. We wouldn't like all of these side characters as much if they weren't put in under the spotlight.
Yeah.
Like. You need to have some sort of development for them, and the best opportunity for that is to give them a side manga if you can't go into detailed backstory about them, because there is other things going on at the main series point, which is why an after sort of episode Nagi manga after he's been eliminated would work perfectly to coincide with the U20 World Cup development.
Yeah, like. Okay, top 3 for spinoff. Like, that you would hope to see.
Okay. So not saying Nagi,
yeah.
I always love to. I want to see Kaiser and Ness.
Kaiser and Ness. Would it be episode Ness or episode Kaiser? I honestly want episode Ness. I want it from Ness's perspective over Kaiser.
Yeah,
like Kaiser be a secondary character in that story.
Kaiser's just more recognized name. So for like, if we're going down the route, if we're going down the route of popularity and recognition, it would have to be episode Kaiser. But I would like it to be Ness, because Ness I feel like there could be much more of, especially considering he's much more open. He's much more mature now. He wants to choose his path because he wants to. He won't take direct orders, which means that he's under a different mindset, and I want to see more of that. Then we have Sai, of course.
Yeah.
And as much as yes, we're going to get like a World Cup backstory, I want Ego.
Yeah, Ego would be good. Here's the thing though, we don't have a lot of options. Because, like, any Blue Locker would just be, like, episode Nagi all over again.
Tokimitsu.
Here, better yet, let me give you this. Who would you rather have a one-shot of?
Okay,
because I feel like for one-shots are better, because you can expand upon them in a single in a single one-shot chapter. To give depth to their character. Like, Shio would be a great one. Loki would be a good one too.
I want to see his rise to stardom.
I want to see Loki. I want to see episode Loki in the context of. I want to see how he met Charles. I want to see how he got into football. I want to see his reactions when he was invited to Blue Lock and when he was playing against the players.
Yeah.
I want to see what happens when he left. And I want to see his mindset going into PXG, because going into the NEL. because we could also use that to expand upon PXG's performances from what we didn't see, because we didn't see anything of PXG. Like, we saw barely anything. So, like, I think it'd be cool to have episode Loki cover Charles and Loki's thought processes in the NEL while showing us the moments and feats of the game. Or, like, I think stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, TDA, you say Nagi is eliminated. Why do we need more content for him? Because the whole purpose of his character is, yes, he's died, but in Blue Lock, when you die, you come back. Will Nagi actively come back, considering he is a character who consistently has chosen the easy option? Is now his chance where he's going to take the easy option, or is he going to show some development and take the hard route to return to us in the series? That's the thing for Nagi, right? Also, he's an entirely popular character. He's been built up for almost 300 chapters, right? Nagi's elimination is his turning point. Will he stay eliminated, or will he return in the series? That's the purpose of his character here. Is to show the growth of him going from being incredibly lazy to being someone who is taking an effort in something that he's learned to love. If he does that, that shows development. That's why Nagi would not... That's why we want more Nagi content, because we want to see him return with a new ambition and development for a character. Like, that's...
There is already, like, major foreshadowing. Like, of course, his death, returning to Zero, reborn, that sort of shit. We also have Isagi's call to action to say, don't give up football, which puts the ball in Nagi's court, either to be to show his activeness, like Arki always wanted, and through activeness, you don't have to just apply it to football. You can apply it to things outside of football. So if he's motivated enough with his activeness, from what he learned from Arki and from what Isagi tried to instill in him before he left, we could see him going and reaching out to Arki once again to say, "Hey, look, I fucked up. I fucked up on this, but I really want to learn, and I really want to get back into the helm of it and actually play football again."
Yeah, like
there's 50 days until the U20 World Cup. That's enough time for Nagi content to just be expanded upon. I assume he's going to sit for a few days in sorrow and think about what he's wanting to do, almost converting back to his lazier lifestyle, but then commit to actually returning to football, because he understands that his activeness is the only thing that will bring him back.
Did we say the same thing for Kunigami? Well, the thing was, when I got into Blue Lock, I didn't know Kunigami was eliminated. When I read the series, when I got into the series through the anime, so I watched all of the anime, no spoilers from the manga. When I found out Kunigami got eliminated, I jumped into the manga. We read the third selection U20 arc, and then I saw Kunigami come back, and I'm like, oh shit, that's cool. I never really gave it any mind, right?
Yeah.
Because Kunigami's character and Nagi's character are very different. Also, the development and depth they have. Like,
Kunigami coming back seems fitting.
Yeah,
because it's to instill the friendly mindset of Isagi, right? That Isagi should not be so friendly to the end. He needs to learn in order to actually be meticulous, like a world's best striker.
Yeah,
Kunigami basically did that during the wild card.
I also don't think Kunigami's story is done just yet, right? Like, people are calling Kunigami a fraud, right? But, like, I feel like you can only call someone fully a fraud when their story is completed, right? Like, for example, you could call someone like Naruhaya a fraud. His story is done. We will very likely never see him again. You can call someone like him a fraud if you want, because his story has been completed and you can judge him based on his full story. But right now, you're judging something you're judging a book by its cover. The story isn't done just yet. Let the character fully develop, and then give your thoughts on whether or not they're a fraud or not. That's what I think in relation to, like, people using the term fraud. Use the term fraud when we have their full story, or they have things that don't back up what they can do. Like, Kunigami was considered to be a striker with 0 weak spots because of his ability to shoot with both feet. That doesn't change what he can do. Like, that doesn't change what we've seen him do. Kunigami went to the wild card and gained an incredible physical disposition. He then used and leveraged it all throughout the PXG game. That doesn't sound like a fraud to me. That sounds like someone just actively using the weapons they have, sure, in a different role, but he's still actively using his weapons. You could call him a fraud as like, he was built, like, you can say, oh, well, he was supposed to be built up as like a copy of Noah, and now he's not doing that. He's a fraud in relation to his original goal. That's a different story. But like, I feel like in the context of fraud, you need to look at them as the character and the realm you're looking at it. Like, Nishioka's a fraud. He is a fraud. That's a character who's a fraud.
Kunigami went from like the second most reliable striker on Munich to the third with Isagi.
Yeah.
So naturally, he went backwards in position to fit a much more important role because he wasn't as capable of a striker. But in any case, Chapter 301. What we got is the sort of ending of the pro players for now. We got a little bit of discussion between Kaiser and Ness, and the non-masters pro players bids.
Yeah. Let me pull those up. There we go. Okay. So, for everyone's bids, we have them here. Kaiser, 400 million from Real. Lorenzo, 280 million from Ubers. Ness, 130 million for Bastard München. Charles, 110 million from PXG. And Agi, 80 million from Manshine City.
Yeah, I feel like the discussion would be like the most unanimous thing said is that Charles and Ness's bid should be swapped.
See, I disagree with that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think Charles relatively is a better passer than Ness, just based off of what we've seen him be able to do. But even then, Charles's contrarian personality, along with his inexperience, I feel like is what's going to hold him back. Like, Charles himself is 15. Ness is, 17, 18? How old is Ness? Do we actually have an age for Ness? I know Kaiser's 19. But do we have an age for Ness?
I think Ness is 18.
Ness is 18? Well, Ness is 3 years older and has a minimum of 3 years more experience. Just eyeballing, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think Ness's bid makes sense. I don't think he should have increased by 80 million, but I feel like in general his value should be worth more than Charles, especially after this game. Because like
it's not to say that I necessarily agree with people who say they should swap, because Ness does bring more immediate value at the moment, at least, and the contribution at the end. I feel like the only thing that favors Charles is basically getting an endorsement from Loki, one of the top rising stars of U20, which right now he's considered to be unanimously the best U20 player.
Yeah.
So an endorsement from him is huge. But Ness, in terms of his performance, getting the final assist for Isagi to score the winning goal against against an undefeated team for an undefeated victory, definitely valuable. And also, Ness started off with 50 mil, which I presume to go up to 60 mil with 2 games, which you don't agree with, but that's fine.
Yeah, like, I feel like we would have seen his bid increase if he really did do something of value, or like his bid value did change. I feel like we would have seen it increase. Like, we see it here, it's different.
Yeah, but I feel like this is just unanimous. They had to do all of the players in which weren't masters to get out there. I feel like this was a necessity.
Yeah, honestly, hear me out on this, right? I think Charles's bid shouldn't be 110 million. I think it should be 100 million. I think Ness's at 50 million is fine because it shows that Charles is a better passer than Ness. But what Ness did in the game led to him getting a more valuable increase.
Yeah.
because of what the consistency is for their characters. I also think of it like Charles is so inexperienced that you can think of his bid as like a very early NEL bid, where usually you get a bigger increase off the rip because it's your first game and your first display of what you can do.
Hey guys, let's be respectful of each other's opinions. Just because we don't agree doesn't mean we need to lead to insults.
Yeah, unless you think Agi deserves the 80 million, then get the fuck out of my chat. He deserves to have 100,000 million.
That's what I mean.
Which is 1 billion. Because, yeah.
I've always, like, I hoax on about Agi. And I love it. But I'm not even mad about his bid. It's just purely because I feel like being outranked by Chidori doesn't really make too much sense to me. But realistically, I'm not going to be mad at it, especially if we're going off the results, which we definitely are. Chidori's gotten assists and goals. Agi likely hasn't for anything.
Yeah, as far as we know, I don't think Agi's been shown to have an assist oracle.
And not to mention, Agi was purposefully put into the ground.
Yeah,
because he had to assist Nagi past the first game, and in the first game, Nagi didn't really do shit for him. So therefore, he kind of diminished in value because he was putting all of his assets into Nagi, didn't pay off. Then he was forced to continue to work with Nagi, continued not to pay off. And then the time when Nagi actually started working on his activeness, he then threw it all the way to Pastoreo, which just made him look like a clown. So, but I love Agi. I'm glad his bid got shown, but I want to see it more. So I want to see him rise. I want to see more of him because actually playing against Agi is very interesting. You may have got out dribbled by Bachara, but I feel like with a well-structured team, unlike the Manshine NEL team, we would actually see quite the improvement of Agi's performances in both assisting and possibly goal-scoring potential, because, let's be honest, he does have goal-scoring potential. He just chose not to further evolve Nagi. Like, we both had this discussion with how Chris Prince didn't focus on those guys winning. Agi was assisting with Chris Prince's methods of making them into their ideal selves.
Yeah. All right. Why don't you guys just send some like hot takes, debates, questions you guys want us to answer, and we'll just talk about them for a minute. Because Genji asks, who do you think will be the captain of the new U20 team?
I think I feel like the debate is always up to like 3 characters.
Yeah, like I think the most popular ones, Isagi, Karasu, and Aiku. I think those are the most popular 3.
Even so, I would never think Karasu would be my choice ever.
Yeah. It's not like he has no good quality. Like, if you put him as captain, I'm not gonna say, oh, what the fuck?
He's not a bad option.
It's just saying,
I would think he's just really mediocre in comparison to the likes of an Aiku and Isagi, because Karasu doesn't add much value, but he's not going to be a bad captain. He's not actually going to draw back his team.
Yeah, but there's a matter of, I'm pretty sure the rule is the captain has to play every time. And I think it would make sense to just have one consistent captain. And
Aiku would be that person because he's the most competent defensive player.
Yeah, like I think even Isagi, I feel like, is less likely to start every game than Aiku, because Aiku is by far the best defender, and they don't have many defenders.
I could definitely foresee Isagi being put on the bench to study, because he is at his best when he has time to analyze, and he usually has mess up moments because he needs to put into practice what he needs to analyze from the other team. It's all a process, and he's likely the person that they put on once the teams are tied up with 1 goal each.
Yeah. Okay. Do you think Burū is a good captain, or would be good in the captain role? I think so. I think it's less of the thing of like directing as a captain, but more of the leading aspect. He's strong in. Like,
yeah, but the downside is he in itself, right, we know his mentality when it comes. And I know it's evolved since the second selection, but like, you put him in a lead position, he wants goals. He won't focus on passing. And the only chance you'll get is by stealing his goals from his mistakes or stealing goals just genuinely from his feet.
Yeah.
Like Sendo does. I believe Burū and Sendo are a good pair to be on the pitch at the same time, considering this.
Yeah.
So I could expect that, but I don't think Burū makes a good cap. I think he's not even within my top 5.
I'd probably put him at 4. I would put him over someone like Rain.
Yeah, I would say put him over Ren. Ren is kind of like emotionally distressed. He is like psychologically speaking. He focuses a lot more on himself, whilst Burū can actually give leading role.
Yeah.
But I would say if I was to go with my rankings, I would put Raichi within my top 5.
Really? I wouldn't even consider Raichi.
The issue is, right, I believe that if Raichi was given the purpose of actually training under IQ, because he would understand what it's like to lead like IQ, if IQ was to give him points and pointers overall. And Raichi, as we saw in the first selection, he's a motivational speaker.
Yeah.
He got into teams these like mindsets to think, guys, attack. You make me do this shit. You make me defend a position that I do not like, and you choose not to attack. No, I'll hold down the fucking fort. If you guys don't attack, you're not striking. That's the type of shit that you would want to hear.
Yeah, like that's also something I love about the Blue Lock dub. Is there's so many lines that I will think about from the dub on a daily basis, right?
No, Raichi's voice actor is good.
Oh yeah, Aaron Campbell, great dude, love that guy. But like I think of like him literally saying, "You're strikers, aren't you? Score damn goals!" Like him screaming, like me and Isagi will hold down the midfield, lock them up, and then like Rain, Matt Shipman as Rain when he said when he went fully destroyer mode against Sai.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the best dub line in the entire show. Like,
oh god, I'm really biased towards the. I'll devour it and turn it into light.
I'll devour it and turn it into light.
I'll devour it and turn it into light.
Surprise!
Light Yagami, you're gonna do it. That's what they do.
I'm so British.
I'm Oliver IQ. I'm so British. Running
All
through.
Right. Yeah, hit us with more questions, guys. Do I think Ryo will improve even further now that Nagi is gone, or will this ruin him? I was
going to bring up Ryo as a captain, by the way.
I think Ryo will come back. Mentally, at least. I think in the game, I could see him really going to Shido. I think I could see him really leaning to Shido. In terms of like impact on his mindset, since Shido was always compared to Nagi, even just how they play, they're very similar. And I feel like because Ryo acknowledged Shido is like, this guy is a monster demon, just like Nagi is. I feel like using Shido for
in the absence of Nagi as well, Ryo can utilize Nagi's abilities, of course, not to max capacity. But that gives him so much more versatility as like we don't have any trappers in Blue Lock. Ryo could be that trapper.
Yeah. Like we've seen he's the only person I think that can copy he's the only character that Ryo can copy genius wise, just because of the chemistry that they have as players, the connection they have. He's the only
he's copied Rin Strike, but aside from that...
Yeah, but that's not really a genius play. That's more technical.
I feel like as in like, if he's going for inspiration, he can definitely draw from Nagi's bank and go for his play. in which Nagi would do in certain situations because they're just so close. Ray would act as a replacement in a sense, which actually makes for good build up for when Nagi returns because Nagi can either return as an opponent or as a direct rival for Rayo to be like, you thought that you were carrying this team on your back with my abilities. I'm about to show you the real thing.
Yeah. I do think Shido will have a huge role in the first game of the World Cup, just because I feel like Shido himself, I will say, is very niche in where he's good, but where he is good, he is very good.
Penalty box, super good. Everywhere else,
Not even then. It's just like okay. I'll say 3 things that I like about Shido as coming from someone who doesn't like Shido.
One, I think his voice actor.
I think one of Shido's greatest elements is how quickly this guy can enter flow. Like, the fact that he can get into flow in minutes.
It seems
I'm pretty sure he scaled. Didn't he score Dragon Drive in like 7 minutes, and then he scored Big Bang Drive like 5 minutes after? Like in 15 minutes, he tapped into flow, which took the Blue Lockers way into like fucking what 60 minutes into the game.
Would you like my positioning of how games could go if Shido was to be on first?
Yeah, why not? Why not? We'll throw it in there. We'll throw it up.
Shido does what he did in the PXG versus a Munich game. Scoring pretty much instantaneously. Throwing the opposing team's balance completely off through his flow state, in which then, once he becomes less impactful for the opposing team to manage, so the opposing team knows what kind of player that Shido is and keeps him outside the penalty box, that's when Isagi subs on.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a good format.
I think it could be. But I always see Shido as a super sub. I don't see him starting. I always think his greatest ability is... Yeah, that's another thing. I think another one of his good things is that he disrupts formations so well.
You could either start or you could either come in halftime, and I feel like halftime is his best bet. Like, as we've seen. It's like everyone's already quite tired and also have the structure down for the opposing team, and then introducing Shido, who throws off that balance completely.
Yeah, I think Shido is either a starting sub or a final 15-minute sub. Like, I'm talking, you've set the balance for the first 70 minutes of the game. Put Shido in at that end. He's throwing it all off balance, and he is
the Joker. He's the Joker.
I would say he's just as good of a Joker, if not reasonably better than Bato at the Joker role, just specifically because current Bato is more of a Joker and and has leaned more towards the role of a figurehead. Yeah. So rather than sure, he needs the light to devour, but he's like a dual figurehead. Put him with someone like Isagi at the front line, and he's gonna do great. But he plays less good now in that devouring role to the same degree in the U20 game, not with his current development, I think. But maybe that's just me. But yeah, Shido gets into flow fast. Great at disrupting formations. I think his ego is good. I want to see his ego expanded upon more. I do think that it is limited to a degree, and I feel like that's what's keeping Shido back reasonably from evolving as well.
So you think his own mindset of his biological need for scoring goals is so linear now in comparison to the mindsets of how many players that we have now?
Yeah, well, have you seen Ted Lasso? I don't think you have, right? I think we mentioned this.
No, I have not.
Okay, so there's a character in the show named Danny Rojas, and his motto in the show is "Football is life," right? That's kind of like Shido. Playing football is life for him, but in relation to that, not playing football doesn't mean death for Shido, right? It's not like a two-way street. And I feel like he needs that two-way street to evolve because there's no pressure for him to evolve, right? Like, if he loses, whatever. I got to play. That's good enough for me. Like, he doesn't desire more, from what it seems. As a player, he doesn't seem to desire more, and I feel like because he doesn't desire more, that's what's keeping him from awakening. Like, Isagi, Rin, Baro, Shigiri, Bachata, they all had, like, the idea of, like, I'm done after this. This is life or death for me, so I need to evolve. And it goes back to, like, to the second selection with episode Nagi about, like, death coming. What do you want to achieve? Shido doesn't really fear death in relation to the world of soccer. And I feel like that's what's holding him back. Because he knows nothing really matters. He's just going to go out there, have fun, and play. Playing football is life for him. Then what's the purpose in evolving?
He doesn't have he doesn't have the mindset of a now standard egoist. He's very much he's still on the cusp of the immature bachelor syndrome.
Oh yeah.
Of like, things are fine, and until he has his own return to zero moment, we could likely see him stagnate. Like, I'm still baffled by the fact that he got a bit over Baru.
I would like to see Shido's backstory be something similar to Bachata, but like, in the sense that Shido got really into it. Like, everyone else, like, Bachata was similar. Like, he was into soccer and he wanted people to play with him and he got really good. But I just want to see Shido get so into it that people just ignore him. Kind of like Bachata.
Yeah, it's going to be to the point where, like, oh, it's not fun playing with Shido because he's literally too obsessed with it. It's not to the point where the people think Bachata's mindset is weird. Like, they didn't play with him not because he was too good, really, but because he was just super weird. Shido could just be so into it that people are thrown off by his football ability and his philosophy.
Yeah,
and I believe he has like a father who's just some sort of
beats his ass.
A gardener, not beats his ass. His father is a gardener.
On the fucking ball.
No, wait. His father is a sex therapist.
My son, I found him cutting a hole in a soccer ball to satisfy his explosions, if you will. I might help with therapy, but I might need some myself. Like, I need to see.
You may need to go to therapy.
I also don't think Shido. I feel like Shido 50/50 may not even get a backstory, honestly.
Yeah, he could be one of. If he doesn't, it could be one of those rogue characters who just like, all right, he's there, he's funny. Yeah.
Also, I say if Shido doesn't get a backstory or gets no more development, he might be one of the worst written characters.
Yeah, he needs
being built
time
up
on
good.
him.
He needs completion. He needs more.
Yeah, if he's literally been in the context of top 3 for 3 arcs now, it's fucking
since introduction.
Yeah, since his introduction. Second, third? I'm pretty sure he got third in coming into the NAL.
Yeah.
Third again after the NAL. If he doesn't fucking get like good writing about him, then he's a completely wasted character.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be the biggest fumble Kaneshiro has ever done. I don't think Kaneshiro's had too many yet, but
what would you say are his biggest fumbles?
One. His biggest fumble, Kuon betraying Team Z. That fucking shit sucked.
I think one of his biggest fumbles is even before that. I think it started in the Team X game. I think one of his biggest fumbles is the fact that everyone just started immediately fighting. It's like they didn't hear the first half of the thing. Sure, you're gonna like,
Well, actually, written wise, it's the battle of their egos in order to basically that whole thing, right? It's a very simplistic explanation why you should turn 0 to 1, and whoever can turn that 0 to 1 can align the team. People battling was just people fighting over the ball was people basically fighting with their egos, fighting over which ego is the strongest, because that is the core value in which ego instilled as soon as they came into BLUELOCK. But that was intentional. It was intentional for ego to set them against each other, because that's why he named it as a win con. If he didn't list top goal scorer as a win con, no one would fight over each other. But they want to all prove that they're better than one another. because there's
I get that, but it also comes down to like they're saying you will survive. You will standardly survive. But if you lose all your games, sure, there's this. But essentially, you're throwing away the chance of losing of winning at all just to try and survive yourself, which sure, that's fine. I get it from like the Team Z perspective, because like maybe they don't think they'll win any games because they're already the worst team in the stratum, right? But in episode Nagi, the thing applies to Team V, where they're the strongest team in the stratum. They shouldn't have to be worrying about losing. They're already, like, in mind, considered to be the strongest team amongst them. So they should be the ones working together off the rip more likely than just immediately fighting. Like, I get Team Y, I could get Team Z, Team X, maybe. But, Team V and Team, W, they should be fine. Like, they should be chilling off the rip, because they already know they're on the upper end of the stuff. The top two teams survive. If you're the top two teams, you should have less stuff to worry about. I don't know, but maybe that's me. Do you think Blue Lock will be a long manga? Because it certainly can be, but given today's manga, it doesn't point that way. I think we could have at least another 300 chapters. I think bare minimum, we're halfway done. Or like,
bare minimum, but I also think the U20 arc is going to be another 300 chapters. I could expect 900 chapters out of this thing.
Yeah, I would expect 150 chapters per arc based off of the pacing we've had. Phase 1, from beginning of the series to after U20, 150. NEL was Phase 2, 151 to...
Arrow, to put in perspective, if we're going to expect the length of like NEL games and of course importance, this is going to feel like it's going to drag, guys. So be ready for the long.
But fine by us.
but I love long games. Like, yeah, sure, the Munich versus PHG game kind of dragged, but like I still enjoyed it nonetheless. But in any case, to go off the brackets of World Cups, they're placed in their own tables. In that table, they already had 3 matches. Each team had 3 matches. So Blue Lock is guaranteed 3 matches worth of content. Whether they rush through certain like easier teams or not, we're going to get 3 matches worth of content. Probably the equivalent of either the Barcha or Manshine game. Right? Then we got of course, the actual bracket in which plays 4 more additional matches. The round of 16, quarterfinals, semifinals, and the finals. And I think Blue Lock is going to get to the finals and lose.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
So there's going to be 7 matches of this. 3 more than the NAL. I think they're going to go over 300 chapters.
I think they should have 20. I think they should have around 20 chapters, maybe 25 to 30 per game.
Until we get to the semifinals and finals, when they actually face like an important team like Spain or France or whatever. That's when the stuff kicks up. Because
like, how long was Barcha? 10 chapters? Less? 8?
I think it was 12? 11?
They started 159, and then they ended 167. So that's like 8. Yeah, 8 chapters. 59. I want something longer than that. I want something longer. I feel like Barcha was fine, but that's like 2 months for a single game. I feel like that's a little too short, especially for the World Cup. Like,
67.
I think they'll lose. I think they'll lose to Germany, though. I think they'll lose to Kaiser and Ness.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, yeah, a penalty would be so good for Gagamaru. I want to see a penalty kick with Gagamaru in the net.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, hear me out. Germany final game, Kaiser penalty kick, Gagamaru block.
It has to end a little after U20 World Cup. There's the actual World Cup, and that's the actual aim. Of course, it won't end in the U20 World Cup.
Yeah. Seriously, do you think Gagamaru could stop? Would be cool for Gagamaru to stop the Kaiser impact? And
I think it would be cool for Raya to replicate the Kaiser.
But I think Gagamaru will stop it. I think 100% there'll be a penalty kick Kaiser impact. I think Gagamaru will stop it simply because Gagamaru has seen Kaiser do it a lot, since he was on the team with him. He saw it a lot and saw it on defense actively. I think Gagamoto, that would be his best feat. Blocking a point-blank Kaiser Impact. I think that would solidify him as the best goalie.
It put him as Go-Amaro rank for a lifetime. Anyway, the final thing, of course, Alvin Lee said to us for some reason that it ends a little after the U20 World Cup. Not true, ends after the World Cup. But how long will Blue Lock go on in terms of yearly progression?
I think the big final game itself is going to be longer, if not longer than the PXG game. Which the PXG game in itself, I think, lasted 45 chapters. So I think the big final game itself will last 50. And then if we're counting all of the other World Cup parts, as well as like they'll probably do a Champions arc in between U20 World Cup and
Premier League
World Cup.
Is what you're thinking.
What's the difference? I thought the Champions League was just the club teams.
Well, I mean, like Premier League, like you can go to the countries in which you were talking about, right? Because of course, like clubs like Real Madrid and Barca FC and stuff like that. What basically, Premier League and Champions League are a difference in terms of divisions. Premier League is a lot more like UK based, but there's still of course clubs in which represent other characters, other clubs from different countries. So I can probably give you the specifics right now. Let me just get them both up. Anyway, continue with talking there. Yeah, so so in the UFA Champions, Liverpool's number 1. Hell yeah. Barcelona is actually number 2. We could get either a Premier League or Champions League is more likely for international things because Premier League is much more UK based, but it does have other teams in which have players representing from different countries, etc., etc. So Champions League definitely the most likely.
So then, would we assume that would be another 150 chapters? Because if so, that's an extra 450, assuming they're all 150 each.
Yeah, I would
750.
I would say I would love a Champions League thing, but the thing is with Champions League, it's not bracket or anything like that. It's points based. You get points per goals per game. That thing would last ages.
Let's do this math, right? How many chapters do you think gets released a year, including break weeks? I would say 40, given 12 break weeks.
I'm gonna be a dickhead and say 41.
Well, all right. Let's just say 40 on the dot, right? Or 41, doesn't matter. So that would mean 40 chapters in a year. How long do we think the U20 World Cup arc will last, give or take? How many chapters? I mean, chapter-wise.
I think minimum. I'm going to guess less than 170 chapters.
Less than 170. So we'll say 170, right?
Yeah.
That would be around 4 years. So about four and a quarter years. So 4 years and 3 months just to get through the U20 World Cup arc. Now, assuming we have an arc in between that and the main World Cup, which is the final arc, what would you say? Or the Champions or Premier League? How long would you say that would last?
The Champions League is going to be the Champions League, and for that reference, I'm not sure how similar the timings are for both. Like how
many games do people usually play in the Premier
League?
League?
Man, many. Like there are so many.
Okay, well let's forget this. How many games do you think they would show?
Good question. Let me. Okay, so I pulled up the brackets. There's 38 matches. And of course, I'm pretty sure each team. How many matches does each team play?
Okay, the end. I see you. All right, what bet would you want to make? I know it's about the what are the stakes of the bet? What do you want to? What are we betting?
Oh wait. Wait, is this true? Maybe someone in chat has. Premier League is 38. Yeah. I'm getting a statistic that says like season runs from August to May. So August from the start of one year and then to May, with teams playing 38 matches each, totaling 380 matches in a season. So that means Blue Lock is playing 38 matches. If they were to go to the Premier League. But in the Champions League, how many matches will be played in Championship? The overall increase in games from 125 to 189. Of those, 48 will come in the new league phase. That doesn't really answer my question. Each team plays 8 matches. Okay, that's actually...
See, that seems more doable.
Yeah.
So then, assuming they play 8 matches, how long do you think that would last?
I give or take 200 chapters.
Okay, let's say 200. Now, the final World Cup.
I'm also going to say 200 chapters.
No, 200 chapters. I say we add extra 15 just in case.
215. Okay, so let's do U20. Let's do mistake then.
Good luck, mistake on your finals, man. Good luck.
Yeah, so let's do U20 World Cup 160. Champions League 200, and then
if we got 40 chapters a year, 215 for the World Cup arc, 200 for a Champions League arc, and 170 for the U20 World Cup arc, Blue Lock will end in 14.625 years.
It looks like we got content. We will never retire. Never.
I mean, I'm not complaining. I guarantee you by that time we would be able to get to 100K. I know we could do it. 100% we could do it.
I'll be 34 years old.
I'll be 34 as well.
Okay, well,
we'll be adults, like adults.
We'll see you guys in 14 years when we retire. Thank you guys so much. All right, I think that's our discussions for the day.
Oh yeah.
Be so serious.
We calling the stream here?
Yeah, I gotta do things, and of course we have some exciting things to get up to, chat.
Oh yeah, big video dropping either Wednesday or Thursday.
Depends on his ass.
I'm so tired right now. I might just go to sleep, wake up, and dedicate the rest of today to just scripting, and then tomorrow record audio.
Yeah.
And then whatever. But yeah. Let's bet on it.
Thank you guys so much for joining us for this video. If you liked it, punch that like button in the face. I'm not sure if anyone gets that.
Punch it like you punch your child when they don't get you your beer, and instead show you a picture that they drew of your happy family, because that's not what you ordered
like
your beer getter to do.
Punch Kaiser. You're not getting on, you piece of shit.
All right, thank you guys so much.
Germans really like beer.
They do. Thank you so much for tuning into the stream, guys. I will probably do another stream sometime this week. I don't know. Episode Nagi drops Thursday. Another video you guys got coming out maybe Wednesday. Just depends on how fucking tired I am. And then you have Friday will probably be the chapter review on episode Nagi. Saturday will be a different video. Sunday, no leaks on Sunday or Saturday. That was a one-time thing. So we are getting leaks on Monday like normal. So yeah, you're getting a very, very stacked week of content.